of thought. The profit of thought.
Peace, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Proper Thought Series right here on the old T.P.O.T YouTube page. I'm your host, X, of course, but y'all knew that already. That's why you're here. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I got a special show for y'all tonight. First, let me get my mic cord out the damn way of the screen. God damn it. I got a special show for y'all tonight. Tonight is one of those nights where, you know, you have somebody come on that, you know, you never thought you'd be able to get them to come on your show. And you actually do. What's up, brother BJ Allen D, Lady Cats? What's good? Water Sniper, Jervis Horton, what's good? Yeah, man. Listen to old brother BJ Allen D and hit that old like button if you don't mind. Yeah, tonight's one of those nights where, you know, you get somebody on your show that you've always wanted on your show. You know, you've always wanted on your show. And it's like, I don't know, like you imagine to get the person because you've always been a fan of this person. You've always been a fan of this person. And, you know, you've always talked about getting them on the show, getting them on the show, getting them on the show. Then the next thing you know, you get them on the show. So, you know, I had to do a lot of research and a lot of writing and a lot of reading and a lot of watching their stuff, more so than I had before, because I need to be prepared when they come up on here. Dr. YaYa will be in the house tonight. But before Doctor, she was not coming in for another 10 minutes, but before she comes on, first thing I want to do is I want to thank, hey, what's up, brother Theron? Brother Faulkner, what's good, brothers? First thing I want to do is I got a really, really nice donation today. And I want to thank that person. If you're watching, I'm not going to say your name because they made sure they wrote, oh, don't say my name, X. So I'm not going to say your name, but you know, I wrote you back today. And like always, you know, I want to thank you very much because I appreciate y'all to the will in the house. I appreciate when you spend your hard-earned money right here on the old T.P.O.T network, because every cent you give, what I do, I take it and I match it at the end of the week, and I take that money and I put it to the side and I use it to buy things for, the old T.P.O.T machine. Receipts can be given upon request if you want. I don't have a problem with that, but I appreciate every donation that you people give to a brother. I mean, it's very, very appreciated, and those donations help keep the old T.P.O.T machine going. Yeah, so like I said, tonight Dr. YaYa is going to be in the house. I mean, full disclosure, I have been following Dr. YaYa for quite some time. I have watched her on other brothers' platforms, and I've been after her to get her on the show for a little while now, for at least a couple weeks. She's a hard person to nail down, but OX is very persistent. So I finally got her to come on tonight. I'm hoping that she's willing to answer some questions, possibly some medical questions. Of course, I'm going to interview her and find out a little about her, stuff that I don't already know. I will be very inquisitive. My moderators, you know the deal. Anybody coming here disrespecting the guest, you already know what to do. Whip out the sword and just decapitate them and quarter them all at the same time. Because my most honored guests, will not be disrespected at any juncture of this platform tonight. Also, tomorrow, make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a good show, y'all, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about hitting the wall. And it's something that the brothers often talk about. And I'm sure it's taken a particular way when the brothers say it. So tomorrow I'm going to have the Unicorn 4 chime in on it, because I feel like when women talk about these things concerning women, it has a little more impact, and maybe it'll open some minds and therefore change some minds. So make sure you join us tomorrow right here on the old T.P.O.T YouTube page, 9:30, for the Ladies of Thought, Unicorn 4, Lady Cats, Lady Ming, Lady Kendra, and Lady Classic. They will be here giving their analysis on hitting the wall. It's going to be a good show tomorrow. So y'all best be up here tomorrow, or I will haunt you in your sleep. Also, make sure y'all follow us on Twitter, man. The Twitter account is at T.P.O.T Media. At Twitter, that's at T.P.O.T Media at Twitter, because I need to get my Twitter numbers up, and I need to get those damn like numbers up, because all y'all gotta do is hit this button right here. Hit this button right here. You see it? You see it right there. I'm pointing at it. Hit that daggone button right there, because if you hit that button, that will automatically let the like buttons match the watch view numbers. I hate when the watch numbers is bigger than the like numbers. I hate that, because you in here, you must like it. So you might as well take 2 seconds and hit that button, man. Oh, drop the extreme link. I tried Char Willie, but something's going on with the I don't know what's going on with the Extreme Lab. Something is, it's not letting me do it. It's not letting me do it. So I'm gonna have to I think I'm gonna have to do the PayPal link, because I can't, for some reason, something's going on with the Stream Lab page. I don't know what it is, Char Will. I have no idea. I tried right before the show. But I don't know if the page is experiencing technical difficulties or what, but it wouldn't let me get in. Let me see. I'm going to try it again. See that? It's not working. Yeah, it's not working. It's not working. Let me see. Let me see. Let me try something else here. Let me try something else. Yeah, something's going on with the Stream Lab. Something's going on with it. Something's going on with it. I don't know what the hell it is. Let me see if I can go through my email and get it. Something's happening here. I don't know what the hell it is. Yeah, for some reason I haven't been able to access my Streamlabs, y'all. So y'all going to have to hit the PayPal link if you're feeling generous tonight. So what I'll do, let's go to the old main page, and I will pull up the Streamlabs tab, and I will put that in there. I mean the PayPal. So if you're feeling generous tonight, you're gonna have to go through the PayPal because something's going on with my damn Streamlabs, and I don't know what the hell it is, y'all. I have no idea what it is. I just don't know. Don't know, y'all. The ghetto ghost strikes again. But there's the PayPal link if you're feeling generous tonight as we sit here and wait for my most honored guest to arrive. You see what's going on. I might have to write her. Or call her because I do have her number. So I may have to do that. Let me see what's going on here. What's going on with the doctor? Let me see what's going on with the doc. Uh-oh, there we go. There we go. Dr. YaYa, can you hear me?
I certainly can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. YaYa. I was just talking you up.
Were you?
Yes,
Okay.
I was. Everybody, if you don't know who this most honored guest of mine is, you must have been living up under a rock or something.
Oh, wow.
Dr. YaYa has arrived. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I thank you for the invite. I really do. I appreciate your persistence.
Oh, absolutely. I was just telling my viewers, I was like, well, I've been on her. I've been chasing after her for like a couple weeks. She's a hard person to nail down, but I managed to get a couple nails in there. So let me get right into it.
Okay. Let me say that you're gonna have me fighting with my assistant. I might have to, after 8 years, I might have to give you another assistant because of you, Brother X. I'm just saying.
Oh, well,
your persistence was crazy. I'm just saying.
Can you just apologize to your assistant for me, for my persistence?
I sure will.
I told you, Doctor, I wasn't going to let up. And one thing I have to say, ever since I put the promo up, I'm gonna let you know how popular you are. Ever since I put the promo up that you were showing up on the show tonight, I have gotten 15 new subscribers just from the time I put the promo up, which was only a couple hours ago, till now.
What?
And I keep getting new subscribers just because they see me put. So I give you the credit for that. Let me get right into it, Doctor, because I know you don't have much time. First, won't you tell the folks? Well, let me do this. I want to do this.
Okay.
First and foremost, people that know who Dr. YaYa is, like myself, know that Dr. YaYa is a real doctor.
Yeah.
They know that I do believe they know that you are a clinical psychologist, but what they also don't know is that you also have a degree in anthropology, correct?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay. For those of you that don't know, she graduated. She was one of those gifted people. I believe you graduated high school when you were like 15.
Yes, 15. I'll never forget it. And I was so very frustrated at the time. I didn't even walk with my class. I graduated like January. I was like, I'm ready to go. So I started my freshman year in March, after the spring break. Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah. 15.
Got you went to school at Bethune-Cookman College, I believe.
Yes.
And also attended the University of Michigan as well.
Go Blue.
Okay. So trust me, I've been paying close attention, doctor.
I see.
So let me ask a little bit about the anthropology thing.
Okay.
Why anthropology? Of
Oh,
all things
wow.
to study.
Wow. Anthropology actually came from Dr. John Henrik Clarke, because I knew him personally. And so that was, I said, I want to study culture and going back, but there's really no money in it. And he was saying, do do the thing that you have a passion for. He said, and I think that would be very good for the people as this new generation is coming up. And, he was talking about passing the baton and, succession planning and stuff like that. He said, that's much needed. So do that. He said, you can do anything. He said, you can do anything. You can go anywhere. You can have it, how you want to have it. But if that's where your passion is, then allow that to be something that you learn so you can bring back to the community.
Now, I know that you travel like all over this world.
Yes.
So what is your main thing? Like, I mean, what is your main thing? Is your main thing therapy, life coaching, psychology, or are you over in the tombs of Egypt, doing anthropology work? Like, I mean, what's your main thing?
Wow. Well, I think what makes me so successful at what I do is because I integrate all of those things, because I can't really approach a person, a community, a family, just having one mindset. It's good for the textbook, but it's not always good when you're working with people. So if I'm in Sudan, I may have to, it may have to be more cultural anthropology when dealing with a different culture, because everyone is not like us. Their cultures are different. They do things differently. So I have to sit where people sit. And so I can only do that based on what a person gives me. If I go in saying it's strictly going to be a diagnosis, or it's strictly going to be something that makes you, make a different decision, then I'm really not doing the people that I'm trying to serve a service. I'm really not helping. So it's really the flow of what's happening and who I'm dealing with. I can't very well, like I said, go to Sudan and say, you know what, all you got to do, y'all, is just meditate. All you got to do, don't have any stress for the day. Totally different culture, totally different way of doing things. And so it has to go with the flow. It has to be something that I can see and say, okay, this is who I have to be today. So I try to be all things to all people who desire my service and call upon me to help.
So being a psychologist, being a doctor,
yes,
being a Black female doctor at that, in your field, do you encounter discrimination because you're a woman? Do you encounter discrimination because you're Black? Do you whether it be psychology or clinical anthropology or cultural anthropology?
Absolutely. And all the time. Well, let me go back. When I attended the University of Michigan, and at this time, there was a lot of affirmative action, and so people are like, did you get in here because of affirmative action? No, I got in here because I worked hard. But while I was attending college, I would go into my classes or leave my classes or lab. And there was an instance where I was so hated, that when I stuck my hand in my pocket, somebody put some type of gel, in my pocket, or they would leave these petty little notes about me being a monkey, stuff like that. But you persevere and you press through. I experienced discrimination in Indonesia when I was there. Almost got my hand cut off. So a lot of things have happened. I've even here in the United States, I've gone into meetings and people were shocked. What? You're Dr. YaYa? And I say, well, yeah, it's me. Well, what's the problem? And then they say things like, oh, well, you just look so young. No, you weren't expecting a Black woman with this much education to come in here and put you in check. So, I mean, yes, it happens, but I maintain who I am, so everywhere that I go and whatever I encounter, I'm going to maintain who I am, period. But I've experienced it, whether it's my skin color, whether it's me being a woman, whatever it may be, I've experienced that. Now I can either take that and say, you know what, y'all, blah, 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 blah. Or I can take that and say, okay, now let me move you out of the way. There was also an instance just recently, a Caucasian male, saw me, and I was in a meeting. I sit on the board of a high profile company who deals with hunger around the world. And I'm about the only Black person. And he said, oh, I see how you just come in, and you move the people in here like chess pieces. And I told him, I said, no, you have me confused. I don't move pieces, I move the board. And so see, when you let people know that you're there for business, and this is how you're going to treat me and how things are going to be conducted as it pertains to me, they have a tendency to kind of, move back. So, I experience it, but how I deal with it lets them know that I'm here for real. I'm here.
So let me ask you about, and let me just address my audience for a second. Excuse me, doctor.
Okay, no problem.
Now, those of you who follow the Prophet of Thought series, I don't like the watch numbers to exceed the like numbers. So take your hand. It only takes a second. Put it right over that mouse and click that button. Click that like button. And if my moderators would, could you please put the donation link to the PayPal, put the link to the PayPal in the chat, because people may be feeling generous tonight. Because if you don't like me, you gotta like the good doctor. So if you're feeling, what's up, brother Universal Jones? If you're feeling generous tonight, go ahead and hit that PayPal link and drop a few coins in the bucket. It is greatly appreciated. And get those likes up. Get those likes up. Thank you very much, WTOP, for putting the link in the chat. Mods, could you please do that periodically, because I'm too lazy to do it myself. I appreciate you. Dr. YaYa, what is your take on the state? I have a lot of questions to ask you, doctor, so I'm just going to pull the trigger on them.
Okay.
What is your take on the state of Black society today? What do you think? I mean, where we are as Black people, what's your take on it in general?
Wow, that's a lot, because our state involves a lot. It involves how we deal with each other, how we deal with ourselves, how we deal with other people, what's going on in our minds, in our communities, in our families. So when I think about our state, I just think we're all running somewhere, but we don't know where to go. That's what I think about our state right now. I think that we're all running for something and trying to get on to something. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're running away from something, but we're running to something, because to run to something means I'm looking for comfort. I'm looking for answers. I'm looking for something that's just going to give me solace and just say it'll be okay. It's all right. So we're running to something, but we don't know where to run. So we've run to religion. We've run to the arms of other folks. We've, run to drugs and alcohol. We've run to self-medication. We've run to gangs. We've run to the streets. We're running. We're running. And at some point, we have to say, okay, if I cannot stop running, at least allow me to slow down. At least allow me to slow down. Because right now we're just running. We're running for everything. We're running. And it's causing us not to really communicate effectively with one another, not to even hear one another, not to to even pay attention to one another. And it's all across the gamut. We have people with certain socioeconomic backgrounds who don't want to deal with the people they consider to be ghetto. We have people in certain neighborhoods who say, well, we don't want to deal with them. They're Oreo cookies or elitists. Why? Because I'm searching for something, but I don't think they have it. And the reason why you don't think they have it is because you haven't slowed down long enough to listen. We don't communicate well with each other. That's the main issue. We don't communicate our thoughts, our feelings if we're in relationships. Men and women don't communicate with each other as far as dealing with the opposite sex. We don't even communicate with our children well anymore because we're too busy running. We're too busy running. We got to find this space and this place. We're just running, we're running. And that running is causing us to be stressed out. It's causing us to be mentally absorbed, you know, and that's where we are as a whole. I mean, just as a whole, this whole general thing is as if we could just slow down for a minute. You know, I know you won't be able to stop, but just slow down for a minute. Then we'll be able to at least try to put some pieces together.
Do you believe that a lot of us in Black society, because I had a brother on here, a psychotherapist I interviewed on my show a few weeks back, and do you think that many of us, I know he thinks this, but I want to ask you as well, a lot of us, we need some therapy, don't we? We could use some.
Absolutely. I say that. I think everybody needs therapy. And it's not, and this is where I hit the wall, Brother X. I hit the wall all the time because in the Black community, that is taboo to talk about going to see a therapist, going to sit down and talk to someone about your problems, because you're supposed to be strong Black people. You know, you take everything to your particular religion. You know, you don't need to talk to anybody. Just take it to your closet, you know, stuff like that. But we all need someone who can have a different perspective from your own. And this is what makes what I do unique. Because I don't ask people, you know, I've encountered a lot of people who say, I've been to counseling and it didn't work. They just ask me, you know, well, how does that make you feel? You know, stuff like that. Well, guess what? I don't want to know how you feel. I want to know how you react. So that's my question. Well, how did you react? Because your feelings are going to change. But guess what? Your behavior and your reactions to certain things, that's your habit. And that remains the same. I'm not trying to break your feelings. I'm just trying to break your habits. So I think everyone should at least sit down and speak to someone, you know, and it's that wall, because we're taught, you know, don't do that. You know, take it in your closet, keep it to yourself, and it begins to build up. And then you have this anger, and this anger begets violence. And then this violence, you know, kind of begets guilt. And then you have this guilt and shame, and then you want to self-medicate. You know, now your liver is messed up because you've been drinking yourself to death when all you had to say is, I was hurt by my uncle when I was 15.
Do you think that we have substituted, have we begun to substitute prayer for therapy? Are we using prayer and religion? Where we're putting religion should be therapy. Do you believe that?
Absolutely. I absolutely believe that. And it's something interesting that you should mention that, because
well, I watch a lot of Dr. YaYa, so you know.
I like that. So in a time during slavery, we understand that they had psychologists, but they weren't called psychologists. They were either called mentalists or they were called mind scientists. And what that meant is that, and they would tell you that only the rich could afford to sit down and speak to a therapist. Okay, only rich people had that privilege of going to talk to an educated person or professional to say, oh, this is how I'm feeling, you know. So everyone else had to take it to the preacher. They had to take it to the priest. If you were poor, you know, you told that to the priest or the preacher because you didn't have enough money, okay, to sit down and speak to a mentalist. You know, you weren't that smart and wealthy to have the to have the right to speak to a doctor. And then the other side of that is when the poor person did go to the doctor, it was for experimentation only, especially Blacks. It wasn't that you were getting helped, it's that I'm going to use you as an experiment, whether it was medical, psychological, you know, emotional, whatever it was. When they did go, it was strictly as an experiment. You know, if you got poor Blacks to go, it was because I'm going to experiment with your mind. I'm gonna see how far I can push you to the edge. I'm gonna see if this drug works on your mind. I'm gonna see if this causes schizophrenia, you know, things like that. So it was only really for rich folk. So, you know, when you pass that down to down the line generations, and you say, oh no, we're poor, we don't go see doctors, we, you know, we take it to church, we take it to the preacher, you know, that's how we handle it, that's what we do, because you only do what you know to do. And so if that's all that I've been hearing, and I tell my children that, my children tell their children that, that's how we're going to perceive it, that's what we're going to believe. And let me tell you something, belief is a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing. And what you, because it shapes who you are. It shapes who you are.
So what would you say about people who spout? Because this is the thing within Black society, we have a lot of people within Black society who, you know, they command a big audience. A lot of the stuff they say is a bunch of BS, but you know, they still have people that follow them. So you have people who are following a BS narrative. And now that these people have the belief of this BS narrative, I believe that those people aren't the people who are pushing the BS narrative aren't really the problem. I think the people who the droves of people who believe it, I think they are the problem, because it's only one person pushing the narrative, but those who are following it in like a cult-like, you know, if they're following this BS narrative in a cult-like state, they are the problem, I think. What's your take on that?
Well, let me say this. The mind is very fragile, but the mind also has a way of protecting itself, just like your body will protect itself from certain diseases and things that try to invade. Your mind is the same way. And when a person has been in a state, and let me say this, people who can move other people to believe a certain thing, like you said, a BS narrative, they only reach the people who are at their lowest. That's just like a con artist. I'm only looking for a mark. Okay. So here we have this person. This person is pushing it. You know, I'm selling you some hopes. I'm selling you some dreams. It sounds good. But I'm only speaking to people at their lowest point. And the way you get people to move in that direction is to make a promise that they can't see them acquiring for themselves. That's what you do. That's what happens. And then you give them this promise and you say, it's going to happen. It's going to come to pass, but I need you to give me a little something, something, you know? And that something is, I need you to give me your mind. I need you to give me your faith. I need you to give me your money, you know, everything that as it pertains to you, you know, and that's such a small price to pay for this huge promise that I'm giving. But again, these are for people who are at their lowest point. If a person is living in a shack in Mississippi Delta and you tell them you're going to give them a high-rise hotel in New York, and the only thing they have to do is, you know, give me your firstborn son. I won't hurt him. I just want to take him and raise him. He'll be raised well. They're going to consider that. They're going to consider that because they've never even thought that they could move out of the space that they're in. So usually when people push a BS narrative and people decide to follow them, it's at their lowest point that they have been hook, line, and sinker, and that's what happens when you want someone to conform to you, because your mind, it starts in the mind. Everything that you're ever going to do is going to start in your mind. And if I can play on your mind, I can get you to go in your wallet. I can get you, to do what I want you to do. I can get you to sell your body. I mean, hell, pimps know it starts in the mind. So of course, someone who wants to push this great narrative is going to understand that. Every leader knows that it starts in the mind. Every great leader and every foul leader knew that all I have to do to move a people is to get to their minds. That's all I have to do. Adolf Hitler knew it, right? Martin Luther King knew it, right? If I can get to your mind, I can move you in a certain direction. And it's a sad thing to say, because it's no different for the good guy as it is for the bad guy. But at some point, someone has to come in and tell us that's not a good idea. Save your mind. It's not a good idea. I'm gonna need you to hold on to your mind. And that's what happens.
Well, I know, being who you are, being a psychologist, I know you run into a lot of people who have, may not necessarily be, quote unquote crazy, but they have had people, I guess, mess with their minds. Do you find that we as Black people are we more susceptible than anyone else, or are we just like everybody else? I mean, are our minds more susceptible because of what we go through as a people in Black society?
I would say that a rich white woman in the suburbs depression is not the same as the Black woman in the ghetto's depression. Certainly not the same. And the reason why is because of experience. Our life experience dictate how we behave and what we believe. So, and we're also more susceptible because we keep fighting going to see a therapist. You see what I'm saying? So we're more susceptible to anything but that. If it sounds like a great idea, it's a great idea. Forget the fact that they're not a professional. Forget the fact that, they heard something from their great grandmammy, some years ago, and this may absolutely work, and they also kill you. But anything, because I don't want to go and talk to anybody about my problems. But you talk to your good girlfriend, and she spread it around the whole neighborhood, and you still talk to her. So we're more susceptible on the fact that we have a tendency to put up a wall when it comes to just dealing with the issue of what's taking place in my mind. Okay, there are a lot of young boys who were molested as children, and they've become adults, and they have never mentioned it, but they will drink until they pass out, or they will abuse women to show their strength, but they'll never mention it. Why? Because it'll make me weak. But let me tell you something. Mark, the little white boy who was hurt, he's going to go and cry, and he's going to tell, and he's going to say, I don't like the way he touched me. And guess what? Susie Q and his dad going to take him to see somebody. Okay? They're going to take him to see somebody. Now, on the other hand, in our communities, we see this a lot. If I do tell, I'm the one who gets vilified. I'm the one who, don't you tell anybody else that. That's a good man. That's a good man, Savannah. You don't tell nobody else that he touched you like that. He's been feeding us. But at what expense has he been feeding us? I'd rather starve to death. So that's how we're more susceptible in our minds and how we deal with things, because we're taught to keep secrets. So much so that we don't even know if we should say anything anymore. We are taught to keep secrets, so much so that when you get into a husband and wife relationship, you don't even know how to communicate. Because since I was 5 years old, I was told, don't say it. Don't say it like this, or don't do it like that. So yes, my mind is just all over the place. My mind is crazy. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Because from the very beginning, there are already seeds planted in our minds of how we should act, react. Don't say that, but say this. You know, if child protective services come to the house, you know, we clean it up. I know you just beat me to an inch of my life, but when they get here, I gotta look like I'm okay and well fed. But you keep me chained to the bed, y'all. Oh, that's not ready. I'm okay. I hope I answered the question.
Wow. Well, actually, I wanna go into this because I just put a video up, you know, kind of addressing this stuff. It talked about cycles and things that we undergo as a people. And what I want to ask you, doctor, is why do you believe that we are like this? Because you said something very important. You said that oftentimes, and I've talked about this on this platform many a times, where something's going on in the house because I'm not really sure about the numbers with little boys, but I know a majority of our young girls are molested by the time they're 12 years old, somewhere to the tune of 60-70%, maybe even more. I may be wrong, but you're talking about a majority of them. And like you said, if they tell, they're not believed. If they tell, they're blamed. So why do you think that we have this thing within Black society where, you know, we won't say anything? We just keep that kind of stuff covered. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, first, a level of embarrassment, right? Here we're all living in the same neighborhood. We're all living in the same ghetto, but my family has to be perceived better than yours. You see what I'm saying? And that has been instilled a long time ago. You know, I mean, in Africa, it's the Tutsis against the Hutus. I mean, you know, colorism, you know, and all of that, you know, so from there to here, nothing has changed in how we're treated and how seeds are planted based on who we are. So from a long time ago, it stems from the fact that, you know, I know we both living in the hood, but my family is better than your family. So it's that perception. And if it's not like that, if people don't perceive that I have this great family, then that's a level of embarrassment for me, especially when it comes to living in poverty. When you're living in poverty and you don't have the wealth to show off, you show off other things. And the first thing you show off is your family. That's the first thing you show off. And then the second thing is how beautiful you keep your home. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have anything else to set forth and say that I'm grand and I'm wonderful, but that, okay? But that. And so it starts with the family. If you tell them that, you know, that he molested you, what would they think about us? So it's never about the one who's being hurt. It's always about the perception of someone else. Why? Because I have to show, you know, how grand we are, even though we're all in poverty. It's the same thing when people buy their children Nikes. It's the same thing, you know, when you got this big screen TV in the hood, or you got this, you know, car, but your front porch is falling apart. You see what I'm saying? Because it's instilled that you still have to present yourself as something that you may not be. Why? In order for someone's perception about you to be okay. So you're worried about what someone else thinks. You're not worried about the fact that you're starving your children. It's sort of like the woman that I've encountered that says, oh, my kids love hot dogs. I feed them hot dogs, but you give your man steak and lobster. Why? Because I want him to feel needed, and I don't want him to feel that he has to go anywhere else. So what about your children? So that is a real mentality that we deal with in the communities. It's sad, but it's true. So the first thing is, the perception about what people think about me is important. That's important to me, you know, because I'm in poverty. So that's the thing. It's about that. It's about presenting that, because that's all that people know to do. You know, that's why the first thing that people say, watch this. When you say, well, why is your son, you know, if you say something about someone else's children, the first thing they say is, my kids don't want for nothing. They get everything. That's the first thing they say. but we're not talking about the material things that you give. And the reason why they say that is because they want to be perceived as a good parent, right? So everything is a matter of perception, especially if you're living in poverty, especially if you're trying to outdo your neighbor, especially if you think in your mind that everybody thinks that you're wonderful, then it's okay. Usually when people are living like that, if you don't think that I'm wonderful because of the wealth that I have, then I just want you to think that I'm wonderful because of what you think I'm doing in my house. And that's just real.
Wow. This is the thing, doctor. I've been doing this media stuff for a while. And ever since I was on the radio, because I actually used to be a radio, I used to do a radio talk show, years ago. And I've seen, and heard, so many stories. I mean, I've interviewed people who were molested by stepdad and molested by uncle and cousin and this one and that one. And you can tell that it has an effect on the people. It affects them like for the rest of their lives. It affects their relationships, how they deal with people, how they talk to people. They don't trust people. They're not trustworthy, a lot of them as well. And that's a lot of us. It's not even like it's a small percentage of us. It's many of us. So which takes me back to the therapy part of Black folks. If we aren't prepared to seek out, professionals like yourself, some type of professional help, as Black people, we are always going to be where we are now, pretty much, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's good that you asked that question, because when I do seminars, and people say, well, what if we can't, and people say this to me, what if we can't afford you? I said, look, my people can always afford me, period. Okay, point blank, period. I say this: find someone that you trust within your family to come to your home, okay? And that is going to listen to what everybody in the house has to say, okay? And then you go from there, and make sure it's a safe zone. And I understand that a lot of people don't know how to do that, because again, people react, when they have these certain feelings, they begin to react. But I suggest to people, if you feel more comfortable, start there. If it's your grandparent or another person that you respect, just say, okay, I want you to hear everything that we have to say, auntie, we're going to start over here, and everybody's going to say how they're feeling and what's going on. And then you go from there, because it always has to start with a level of trust, because what you share is going to make you very vulnerable. Again, we're taught that we're strong Black people, and we are strong Black people, but we also have to understand that there's some things that if we don't release, they're going to eat us up inside. And then that's a contributing factor to how I behave. That's how I treat other people, how I treat my children, my spouse, people in my community. And so you have to start there. If you just absolutely think that there's no way I'm going to go talk to this therapist or seek someone out, start from there. Start from there. And if there's no one you can absolutely trust to hear your family's issues, then you're going to have to bite a bullet. You have to bite a bullet and say, look, because my family is important to me, and I don't want another lost generation. I don't want my granddaughter to think that what happened to her mother being molested by her stepfather is okay. At some point, you just have to say, I don't give a darn what y'all think about me. I don't care what you say. My family needs help. Sometimes you just have to put out a cry for help.
Wow. So your clientele is your clientele is primarily Black, right? Or do you serve the whole? What's your main clientele? Is your main clientele Black people?
My main clientele, Yeah, Black people. And I go all over the world. I go to Africa, I go, to China, I go to Indonesia, I go to London. It's primarily Black people. Now my celebrity clientele, some of them are white, but the majority of my clientele are Black people, Black families, everything like that. Because I think it's important for me to be able to deal with my community and help my community first, because they got a lot of people, and I stress this a lot when dealing with people who seek therapy. I always say, go to somebody who looks like you. So they go to somebody who looks like you because they have a clear understanding in most cases of what your stressors are, and I think that's vitally important. So my education and what I do is for my community. It's just the way I was raised. If you get anything, you bring it to your family and community first, and then everybody else on the outskirts who may want, to kind of, see what's going on with you, then that's great, but they're not first.
So where are the craziest Black people? In America, Africa, Japan. Where are the craziest black people located?
All over the place. They're all over the place, okay? Because they're struggling. The struggles are the same. And I think the root struggle in our community is just trying to figure out if we're okay. Like, is it okay to be me? Is it okay for me to be a Black man? Is it okay for me to be a Black child, a Black woman? Is it okay? Can I just be who I am? And that's the main struggle. Can I be who I am? And if that involves me being vulnerable, can I be who I am without judgment? Can I be who I am, without a side eye? Can I just be? And so I had an instance. I was working with a Black woman in corporate America, and her hair was always straight. She always had it straight and things like that. And then she came to me to say, I want to wear my hair natural, but I'm so afraid. That's a stressor. People may think that's a small thing, but that is a stressor, okay? For people who are trying to make this change and know that they're probably going to be judged, that is huge. So some people may think, what? She just want to change her hair, girl, just do it. But I'm working at a Fortune 500 company. They're not used to seeing me like this. Hell, I'm not used to seeing me like this. I am stressed out. I can't sleep. I can't eat because I want to get rid of this hair to show who I truly am. But on the other side of that, I'm afraid of what might happen. Right? So, I mean, even those things are stressors in the lives of my people. Those things, something like that says, man, this is who I want to be, but I'm afraid to be who I want to be. So I see sometimes the root cause of what's going on in the community is I just can't be me. And that involves, I can't tell the truth. I can't share with someone without this fear of being judged or rejected, So that's the whole of the Black community.
Well, let me ask you a little bit about the Black man and the Black woman, and we'll start with the Black man. I've heard you say that Black men, we have a tendency to inject ourselves into the history of others. Would you mind expounding on that a little bit for the folks?
Okay. When you don't know who you are, and it's vitally important for the Black man to know who he is. I mean, even if no one tells him that he should know who he is, it's just inherent in him that he wants to know where he came from. That's just a natural thing. And when you struggle with that, you begin to inject yourself into someone else's history. And what I mean by that is that you would take on someone else's culture and history because it not only fascinates you, but it resonates with you. And the reason why it resonates is because you don't know who you are. So you grab it and you say, well, I think this will work well for me. I want to be that. This is who I want to be. whether you think you're a Hebrew Israelite, you know, no disrespect to you, whether you think that's who you really are, or whether you think that you are Native American, you could very well be, you know, but you really don't know. It's just certain things that resonate with you because you have this, I need to know, I want to know. And so if it makes you feel comfortable and if it makes you feel good, then that's where you go. That's what you gravitate toward. And then if someone else comes and taps you on your shoulder and say, Mr. Black Man, you know your people are actually Igbo. Okay. You know, you kind of startle, you know, you're like, well, wait a minute. I've grown attached to this. And then sometimes, you know, you get a revelation and say, okay, I'm out. And then other times you'll say, but this is what I really want. I really want to be here. I really want to stay here, you know, and you will. But I think it comes from the lack of knowledge of knowing, of knowing who he is and having a desire to know, you know, and not being able to catch up with that history, you know. And so that's how you begin to interject, you know, you interject yourself into someone else's history because you don't know your history and you don't know your culture, because some men feel like it only goes back so far. And so I say, at some point, can you be comfortable with that? Can that be okay with you, just being a Black man where you are? Can you just say, I know I have ancestors, and that's great. That's a wonderful thing. And in my face, every time I look in the mirror, I can understand that I have ancestors. Even though I may not know who they are, can I be comfortable with the fact that I'm here and I'm able to press forward and do what I need to do for my people, for my family? You know, so at some point, you have to learn how to just be comfortable in your skin. It's a difficult thing. It's quite the difficult thing to be able to say that. But at some point, if you don't know, it's okay not to know. Just don't run to anything that sounds good. There's a danger in that.
Well, do you feel that is similar for our Black women? I mean, because I have my issues with our Black women, as I'm sure many brothers do. What do you think the deal is with Black women? I mean, what's the deal? I mean, what do you think the deal is with Black women? What is the biggest problem with Black women today?
Never feel like they're good enough. The Black woman never feels like she's good enough. Never feel, to the point that she doesn't even know how to accept compliments anymore. There was a time that you could compliment the Black woman and she'd be okay. Like, oh, thank you. You know, I appreciate that. No, not anymore, because now she feels like there's an ulterior motive. Because to feel like there's an ulterior motive when someone gives you a compliment means that you don't feel good about yourself anymore. That your self-worth is to the point that if you tell me that I'm intelligent, I'm going to question you. Why? Because my perception of myself is that I'm not good enough. So the Black man is struggling with trying to find out who he is. The Black woman is struggling with trying to figure out where her worth lies. So my worth is going to lie in this hair, in these contact lenses, and getting a bigger butt and getting some breasts. We just going to be real tonight because it's just family talking, you know. So that's where my worth is, right? But then you do all of that, and when he says, "Oh, girl, you sexy," now you're offended and hurt because you found out that that's really not what it is. It's not about my breasts. It's not about my butt. So you have to ask yourself, so why am I putting it out there? Why is my short hair not good enough? Why do I find no worth in just being me? Right? Because we hear so many things about the Black woman. We hear about her parenting, how her parenting sucks. We hear about, you know, how she sucks as a spouse or a partner. We hear all of that. So her self-worth is being dragged through the mud in music, and it's being dragged through in movies. I mean, it's just being dragged. So now when I step out of my house, my self-worth is in question. I got to figure this thing out. I can't leave my house, knowing that my self-worth is on display. So that's the issue with the Black woman. And so how do we get past that issue? Because if you compliment her, because of her perception of herself, she's gonna think you a lie. You can tell her all day long, Brother X, you know what? I think blue is really your color. And she's gonna think that you have an ulterior motive, that you're no good, that you say that to all the women. You see what I'm saying? So in her mind, okay, is what she's going through, because her self-worth is being judged at every turn. So your compliment can be genuine. It can be genuine as I don't know what, but to her, it's not. And so we got this communication thing with men and women. Men are, you don't respect me. And the woman is like, well, you don't take care of me. And then, and it's really not even about that. It's really about my perception of myself will dictate how I communicate with you. That's what it is. How I communicate with you is based on how I perceive myself. And so what you say to me, if everything is an affront to me and I think you a lie, everything that comes out of your mouth is a lie, guess what? I'm going to treat you like that. If I think that every word that you say to me is a lie, I'm going to treat you like a liar.
So we as Black folks, are we living outside of the truth? Many of us, are we living outside of the truth? Is that what it is?
We are absolutely living outside of the truth. Absolutely. Why? Because for me to embrace the truth, Brother X, it means that at some point I have to change. And once you've been in the habit of doing something and saying something for so long, you don't feel like you have to change. You hear it all the time. I'm just setting my ways. No, you're not setting your ways. You just don't want to change. Because you know that change requires for you to be a different person and have a different perception. And if I don't want my perception to change, I'll use that excuse. Well, I'm just setting my ways. No, you just don't want to. you want to stay where you are. You want to be where you are because that's the safe place for you. That's the place that people don't even come near you. That's your space. You do it all the time.
Yeah, well, it's hard to grow without change, because growth is change. If you're growing, you're changing. You're in a different state than you were before. So if you don't change, it's almost impossible to grow, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's impossible to grow. You'll be stunted, you'll be there, and then guess what sets in? Bitterness. Because if you don't grow and you don't change, you start to see things around you change and you become bitter. You become bitter. And then out of that bitterness, you begin to react to the change around you. And that's not healthy. That's not healthy for you mentally or physically. And people are wondering why so many people are sick in their bodies. That comes from the majority of the sickness in your body comes from your mind. It comes from your mind. And so people don't realize that. People just think, well, maybe I ought to stop eating so many fries. Well, yeah, that's possibly true as well. But maybe you should also think about how you have this displaced and misplaced anger. It's not healthy. It is not healthy at all. If you're the type of person that, as far as a woman is concerned, that you have to know every password of your significant other, you have to go through the phone, you have to do all of that, that's not healthy. It's not healthy mentally. You have on display your insecurities, and insecurities can cause you to have some gastrointestinal problems, right? Now, some stage in life, we all go through a certain type of insecurity, but you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay in that spot. You don't have to be there. And the same thing with men. When arrogance is a mask of insecurity, there's nothing wrong with self-confidence. But if your arrogance has to belittle or berate the woman that you're with, you're just masking your insecurity.
Wow. I knew this was going to be an insightful night, Doctor. Um, let me ask you this, and let me tell you people to let these likes match the watching. Okay, I got like 30 of y'all in here. Can I at least get 30 likes up on the board? And make sure you hit that Streamlabs donate button while you're at it. Throw a few coins in the bucket. I'm bringing you good guests like Dr. YaYa. The least thing you can do is put $1 in the bucket, for Christ's sakes. Dr. YaYa, I have told you, full disclosure, y'all, I have been communicating with Dr. YaYa for a few weeks now, and I have watched your stuff often. And I know that you are a person that tries to get people to master their own thinking. So kind of explain to the audience a little bit about mastering their own thinking, if you would.
Okay. You have control over three things when it comes to you. You have control over what you see, hear, and say. The second thing you have control over is your behavior, and then you have control over what you believe, right? Now, belief is very powerful because belief is the thing that allows you to navigate through life. What you believe is going to cause you to navigate through life. It's going to cause how you respond to people, how you don't respond to people, how you deal with your own situations and everything like that. So to master your thinking, and I say this all the time, you want to make sure that you command your day. I hear this a lot from people. I hear them say, oh my gosh, it's Monday. I can't believe I got to get up and go to work, blah, blah, blah. Hate Mondays, right? So every time Monday comes around, your subconscious is telling you to be hateful for that day because you've already planted that seed that you hate Mondays, right? So if you're going to master your mind, that means that you have to change the way that you think. If you want something to change in your life, only you can change it. You can't change someone else's behavior, but you can change yours. You can't change what someone else sees and what they hear and what they do, but you can change all of that for you. And you can change your belief. Just because someone else has said it doesn't make it factual for your life. It doesn't, whatever does not serve you, you should get rid of. You have to get rid of whatever is not serving you. It may have served you well 15 years ago, but it's not serving you well now. I speak to a lot of people about success. And the main thing that stops people from having the success that they want is their perception of money. And many times growing up, we know Black families were taught that money, the love of money, is the root of all evil and stuff like that. But let me tell you something. You can't attract what you don't love. If you don't love men, you don't attract men. If you don't love women, you don't attract women, right? So you cannot attract the thing that you don't love. But you have this warped sense of money that you can't even come into your own success. So if you're going to master your mind, you're going to have to make up in your mind that everything that I learned, I have to unlearn. I have to unlearn that because it is no longer serving its purpose. If you walk around and you have in your mind there are no good men, guess what? You'll never find him. He's not for you. You'll be by yourself forever. If you walk around thinking every woman is a gold digger, you'll never find the one that's for you. I mean, that's just the way it is because that's your belief. And you're going to operate on your belief. If there are no good men, that good man that comes up to you, you're not going to give him a chance because guess what? He's no good, right? You already made up in your mind that he was no good. It's the same thing with our perceptions of what we desire to have. How can you hate something and then want it all at the same time? How can you say I hate money or I hate rich people, but you desire to have some money? You can't do that. You have not mastered your mind. You kind of confused. You just walk a whole big bag of confusion. And so when I ask people, I say, and I asked them this, Brother X, what do you want? Do you know people don't know what they want? They don't know what they want. They can tell me what they don't want, but they don't know what they want. Or they say something like, well, I don't know. And I always say that's why you don't have it, because you don't know. You have not mastered your thinking to say, this is what I want. This is what I desire. No one gets up and does that anymore. I make sure I do that every morning. I command my day. I say, I'm going to be productive today. This is what my day is going to be. This is how I'm going to be today. I just don't roll out of bed and say, oh, let me start the day. See, most of the time, when you have not mastered your mind, you think that life is happening to you when it's not. Life is actually reacting to you. See, you think, oh, this is happening. So you just go through the motions. You get up, you roll out of bed, you brush your teeth, you possibly get the kids off school, you go to work, you do all of that. So you're merely existing, but you're not living. And that's what happens when you do not master your thinking. You have to plant those seeds. You have to plant those seeds so that they're there and that they grow, and so that they become a habit. You got all these other habits. You don't fail to get you a glass of wine every night at 8 o'clock. You got other, you don't fail to get your coffee in the morning. You got these other habits that you do. And so it must be the same thing when you are going to master your thinking.
So what do you think has influenced? What do you think your influence? What do you think what influences us the most about the way we do things? What influences us? I mean, what is influencing us the most as far as the way we live as Black people, how we do things? What do you think one of the biggest influences are?
Wow. The biggest influences. That is.
Hold on a second. 1 second, doctor.
Okay.
Who is this? Stoic compassion. He says your adoration for the doctor is preventing you from challenging her content of thought to be tapped. She's speaking so vaguely about the topics. First of all, brother. First of all, excuse me for a second, doctor. I don't know, brother or sister. First of all, the doctor is a guest on this show tonight. First of all. Second, I am here to interview her, not to beat up on her, challenge her, roast her, or question her content. Now, if you don't like what's going on in this here live stream, I'm pretty sure there's like 150 million that you could be watched. Therefore, my mods, please escort Mr. or Mrs. Stoic Compassion to the door. Thank you very much. Continue, doctor.
Oh wow, thank you. I didn't know I was being vague. I guess certain things you have to pay for, sir, ma'am. But influences. I think the main influences again are our beliefs, and those beliefs come from the people around us, our environment, parents, things like that. And we get stuck in a certain thought, right? And when you're stuck in a certain thought, again, that influences how you react and how you behave and what you are plan to do. I met a young gentleman in Chicago who plainly stated that he doesn't see himself ever getting out the ghetto. Now, where does he get that? He has to get that from his environment. The thing that's influencing him is also causing him to react in a certain way. So that is a big influencer. And I would say poverty. Poverty is a huge influencer on how we think and how we direct our energies. Absolutely.
Yeah. I knew we were going to get a few. I knew we were going to get a few people in here acting really nutty because they don't know how to just sit, enjoy the show, shut up. Okay. If I wanted people to be, you know, questioning Q&A and Dr. YaYa, I would have the phone lines open. I would put the link in the chat. Dr. YaYa is here as my guest, and I am going to decide what questions to ask her. So if you can't come in here, be respectful of my guests. My mods will show you the door, and they will show it to you quick.
Oh my.
All right? That's just how it's going to be tonight. Don't take it personal, but take it very personal. So, Dr. YaYa, many times in within Black society, you know, because my platform, you know, we pretty much focus on how things affect Black folks.
Yes.
Right? And we as Black people, you often hear us tell one another, oh, you're a self-hater. You hate yourself. You're, you know, your mama's Black. You're, you know, we all these kind of catchphrases that don't mean too much. Okay. They don't mean a lot. I know when I hear them, they don't mean a lot. When someone says, oh, you're a self-hater or you hate yourself, whatever case may be. What do you think is the core? What is the core of that, to that response when people say that to other Black people? What do you think is behind that?
What's behind that is, since you don't think the way that I think, then, you know, you have to hate yourself. Again, it's that when people, let me tell you what the ego does. When people don't appreciate your certain way of thinking, when people don't respect your opinions, their ego says, make a judgment, because it's not the way that you view things. So I'm going to judge everything that this person says. And so when people say that, they're merely telling you that I don't appreciate the way you think, you know. And along with that, it's supposed to make you feel guilty. You know, that statement is a form of manipulation, because then you feel like you have to defend yourself. So in defending yourself, you know, what they're getting from you is this explanation. You know, they feel like they won. You know, if I ask you a question and you have to, or if I put something out there and you have to explain, you know, why you're not like this, then I've actually won. And so that's the thing that they run to, because they want to manipulate your thoughts. I mean, we're not all going, look, you can grow up in the same house with your siblings and have a different perspective of how you were raised. That's just what it is. You know, the youngest can say it was great, the oldest could say it was terrible. Okay, but you all grew up in the same house and had the same experience. And so when we hear things like, you just, you know, you hate yourself, you know, you're a self-hater, what that person is saying is, I don't really respect your opinion. I don't respect how you're going about it. And so I want you to explain yourself. Well, guess what? I don't have to explain myself. That's your opinion. You know, keep moving. I understand that statement is a form of manipulation, because you have a desire for me to explain my thoughts to you. You want to manipulate my thoughts. And so when I begin to explain to you, you want to go in here and tell me why I shouldn't feel the way that I feel. That's not your place. That's not your place. So I tell people, when they hear things like that, don't respond. Don't respond to people, especially people who look like you. Because again, that's a form of manipulation. You know, I've heard Caucasian people try to manipulate Black people with some of the same stuff. Well, do you love your people? You know, even, what do you think about your people? They say stuff like, what do you think about your people committing so many crimes? What kind of question is that? No one goes up to white folks and asks them, what do you think about them, you know, committing all these mass murders? What, you know, what's going on with you? But white people feel comfortable and asking those type of questions. Why? Because they want to see where your thoughts are in order to manipulate. And when we find that our brothers and sisters are doing the same things, we have to recognize it for what it is. And so with that, we have to say, you know what, brother, sister, I love you, but I don't have to explain myself, and keep it moving, because that's what it is. It's actually a form of manipulation.
Wow. So maybe we should be saying that more to each other, that, hey, look, man, I don't need to explain myself to you. Is that a good answer for things like that? Hey, man, I don't have to explain myself to you, bro.
Exactly. I don't need to explain myself to you. We can have some dialogue on so many levels, but you're looking for me to offer an explanation and get into my way of thinking in order that you may plant a seed and say, well, no, you shouldn't think like that. Well, guess what? You haven't had my experience. I think it's a matter of respect. Just like me, I don't emasculate men and I don't call women bitchs, you know, because what they are today may not be what they are tomorrow. So I can't make the judgment and say, well, you know what, you think that's just stupid, you're uneducated, you're this, that, and the other. I can't do that. I won't do that. But we find so many people because I want you to think the way that I think. Why? For one, I'm insecure and it makes me feel comfortable if you think the way that I think. See, people like to be in that comfort zone because they can escape being challenged, especially in our community. We don't like to be challenged at all. And so the first thing when a person gets challenged who doesn't like it, they run to anger. They go to name calling. They go to all these things to put up a wall so you can just leave them alone.
So let me jump from the professional, the doctor. What do you do, doctor, when you're not work? Because I know you have a front loaded heavy schedule. What do you do when you're not doing doctor stuff? What do you do?
I am reading. I am playing chess. I'm working out. Work out every day. I'm trying to call my granddaughters as often as I can. I'm just enjoying life. That's what I do. I'm just enjoying life and and stuff like that when I get some downtime. I'm not a TV watcher. So I don't do any of that. So I just try to be with myself. Some people don't like to be with themselves. That's why solitary confinement is a form of punishment in prison, because people don't like to be alone with their own thoughts. But me, I just like, just to be, just to be. So that's what I do.
So are you willing to answer a couple questions? I guess I'll let y'all ask some questions if you ask them. And
sure.
I want to ask the doc is willing to answer a few questions. If you want to ask a question, they better be some respectful questions, or my mods are they're just gonna cut your head off, man. I mean, they carry big swords, they're just gonna cut your head off. So if you want to ask some intelligent, pertinent questions, pull the trigger. Don't ask anything stupid. Don't ask anything ultra personal. Don't ask anything that's just off the ship, because you will be escorted to the door. I'm going to keep talking to the doctor until I see some questions come up, but whatever questions you put up there, the doc is willing to answer them if they're suitable questions, that is. Shouldn't have to say that to folks, but I have to say that to folks. Yeah, you have to say it. So that I'm a fan of yours, Doc, because I've been watching your stuff for a while.
I appreciate that.
And I'm actually shocked that you're a fan of mine.
Yes, I am.
I cannot believe that you actually watch my stuff. I can't believe that. That in itself is just like crazy. But when you think about because let's be straight, there are many people who claim to be okay, hold on, I guess I have to wait for my question, because brother, what's good, brother Jay Sean? He said, ask the good doctor if she has ever heard of E plus R equals O. I think I'm reading that right.
Okay. Is he referring to event plus response equals outcome?
Yeah, let me make sure I'm reading it right, doctor, because my eyes is bad. Yeah, I think that's what that says. Yeah. That's what that
That's what
says.
he's referring to. If you're talking about event plus response equals outcome, the formula by Mr. Canfield, I am familiar. Okay.
Okay. Another question, Brother Jones. Shout out, Brother Jones. He says, what would you recommend for Black millennials to do to address the emotional or mental wellness?
Wow. That is that is a very good question, because the millennials now they have this social media platforms, and they're seeing all of these different things and everything of that nature. I would say that as just step back. I mean, you have to start somewhere. I would ask the millennials to step back from social media for a little bit. I know it can be addictive. I know it can be addicting, but if they're going to maintain their emotional and mental wellness, they're going to have to step back from social media. I mean, at least for a little bit. I mean, even if it takes, I'm only going to be on for 10 hours a week. But that's the only way the millennials are going to do it like that, because they have all of these things from different platforms coming at them. And so it's such a different time for them. And so that's what they're going to have to do. And a lot of people don't realize, but this Instagram causes depression in young women, because they feel like they cannot live up to these so-called models that they see on there. Causes a lot of depression. So I would suggest that they just step away from that for a while. Try to seek out elderly people, older people to try to speak to, to try to relate to. And I know it's a difficult thing, but that's what the millennials are going to have to start doing. They're going to have to take it upon themselves and say, this is not good for me. It's addictive. It's not good for me. I got to do something. I got to put this phone down. I got to, because it's an addiction like anything else, like a drug. It is an addiction.
Someone else is asking Dr. YaYa, why does the man have to find himself, but woman has to be concerned about her worth and not find herself?
I stated earlier, it's inherent for a man to find out where he comes from. That's who he is. That's what he does. It's not inherent in a woman to ask, where do I come from? Let me seek and search out, where my bloodline or lineage is. The majority of people who go to these ancestry DNA tests are men. They're men. 68% are men. They have a desire to find out. Why? Because they want to pass that on. Men like to pass on that information to their offspring. Now, when it comes to women, the reason why women are concerned about their self-worth is because for a very long time, they've been the keepers of the house. They're the ones that you go in and, their appreciation is based on their worth. That's the way it's always been. Their appreciation is based on, honey, did you like the dinner tonight? Oh, yes, babe, it was lovely. That's her worth. Saying to a woman that I love the way you raise our children, that's her worth. That's what it is. That's why she's concerned about that. Okay, that's why she has to know that she has some value, not only in her relationships, in her love relationships, but in her relationships with her siblings, and relationships with her cousins, and relationship with parents. Women have to know that they bring something worthy of being appreciated. And that's what that is. That's what that is. If you were to go in the house and a woman has cooked for you, and she knew that you worked hard and everything like that, and she cooked and made a special meal for you, and you say, oh, it's a little bland, you know what she's going to do, right? Brother, she's going to run right into the bedroom and start crying. You don't appreciate me. I cooked everything for you. Why? Because it's based on her being appreciated for the things that she does.
You know, I've written a lot of this stuff down, doctor. Um, yes, I wrote a lot of it down. As far as well, what do you think about social media? I mean, social media itself. What's your take on social media as far as Black people are concerned? Do you think that we ingest too much of this stuff?
Oh my goodness, I think we ingest entirely too much of it. I think it's gotten a way of really communicating with one another. Anytime you could be sitting in the same house and everybody's on the phone, there's a problem. There's a big problem. It's causing a lack of communication. You're getting all your information through another source. And we see that when people have Facebook arguments, right? When loved ones I've seen people discuss a husband and wife arguing on Facebook. How are you arguing on Facebook? We can have this discussion in the living room. Okay, so we're doing too much of getting our information and getting information out to people. Because again, if I type to Brother X, if I have a problem with Brother X, instead of me calling him and saying, okay, this is the issue, if I type to him, then I can just leave away from my computer and not look at what he has to say, right? So I don't have to confront anything. Anytime, when you're dealing with social media, you don't have to really confront any serious issues. You can just go back and forth. But I don't have to hear your tone. I don't have to, try to understand what you're trying to say, because there are a lot of things that get lost on social media. I mean, we know that things get lost in text. Someone could write a text to you and you read it wrong. You're like, what the hell? And that is not what they meant. So it's the same thing with social media. We're losing that communication factor. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing, especially for people who are struggling to communicate with one another in the first place.
Wow.
So it's a lot of we're back to that. We just want to be entertained.
Well, we got another question for you, doctor. Someone asked, what do you do if your wife feels underappreciated even when you go out of your way to show appreciation?
Okay, that means that her perception of herself is at a low point. It's at a low point. And so the first thing you're going to have to do is back up off of showing so much appreciation, right? Because if she has a low perception of herself, she'll start to think that you're covering for something else. You see what I'm saying? She'll start to think that, oh, wait a minute, you must be doing something because you're showing too much. So you want to kind of understand that, okay, she has a low perception of herself. So I'm going to back off on trying to be overly appreciated. You see what I'm saying? I'm trying to back away from being overly appreciative, excuse me. And so I'm just going to, I'm going to let it flow. I'm going to let it flow. And what you might want to do is, if you can't have a full-fledged conversation about the topic, what you might want to do is drop little nuggets. What's going on with you today? How did you feel about whatever today? You might want to begin to do that so she can begin to open up and probably more likely want her to share why she doesn't feel that she's worthy of as much appreciation as you desire to give her.
Is it really possible to like over appreciate someone though? Like, is that a thing?
If they have a low perception of themselves, oh yeah. Because again, like I said, if I'm in this relationship and I don't feel worthy or my self-worth is low, and you keep saying, you know what, YaYa, I just really love you. I just really appreciate you. I just really, I'm going to start to think, wait a minute, you must be covering for something. You know what I'm saying? Because it's the perception of myself that would allow me to receive the appreciation that you have to give to me. So yes, it's possible. It's possible to overly appreciate, especially someone who has a certain perception of themselves, especially of their self-worth.
So far as, because how, and we talk about this a lot on the platform as well, we often talk about how we as Black people, we don't, you know, many of us, we don't have economic status. We don't, hold on. How do you, we got another question for you, doctor. Hold on. Came right up midstream. How do you think Black men and women gain longevity in their relationships?
Several things. The first thing is longevity in relationships come from not taking everything personal. Just because you're in a relationship, a personal relationship, doesn't mean everything is personal. It doesn't mean everything is about you or everything is about them. It means that we're in this together, and I desire that you listen to me if there is an issue. Longevity comes from that. I find that when people don't have longevity, it's because they took everything personal. You know, in most cases, they took everything personal. The second thing that maintains longevity, and we hear this a lot about trust and, you know, and honesty and, you know, things like that. Well, first, before you get to that, you have to build a foundation for that, because everybody can't handle the truth. We just gonna be honest tonight. Everybody's not gonna handle, do I look fat in these jeans? Yes. Everybody's not gonna handle stuff like that. Although you ask the question, and you would think that if you're my partner, I should be able to ask you anything, right? Not so. You have to build a foundation for that. You know, you have to build a foundation, because that goes back to, no matter what is said, you know, I respect you enough to tell you the truth. If you don't build a foundation for truth, and that foundation, what I mean by that is you tell the person, I want to tell you the truth no matter what, but I want you to be able to accept the truth and not think that I'm doing this to hurt you. You know, you have to build that foundation. And it's sad that we have to go and tell people, I'm going to tell you the truth, but I'm going to need you to be receptive. You know what I'm saying? But that's how you build a foundation for honesty. So the first thing you have to do is you have to build a foundation for truth, because everybody can't handle it. People start crying and getting upset and, you know, I can't believe it. But you ask the question. See, that's the thing. Everybody says, you know, I want you to keep it real. But if there's no foundation for realness, everything you build is going to crumble. Because then you get into an argument 6 months later, and you're going to bring up what was said, even though it was the truth. So you have to build that foundation. So don't take everything personal. Make sure you build a foundation for truth and honesty if you're going to have it. Okay? You make sure that you do that. And the third thing is be real with yourself. I find that longevity in relationships, you know, we're in this together, but I came in as an individual. You have to be real and true to yourself. And that's what, how you gain longevity in relationships.
Well, I was going to ask you before they came in with that question about Black people's, you know, socioeconomic status, because, you know, a lot of us are, you know, we're living at the poverty line or below it. So what would be your advice to people who, because you know, you spoke earlier about, you know, people who live in poverty. What would be your advice to people who live in poverty? I mean, how do they focus on, you know, how do they focus on longevity? How do they focus on having a positive state of mind? You know, if they're living in, you know, they're living in the most impoverished of predicaments, how would they be able to stay focused, you know, keep a positive frame of mind, their mental health, you know, stay up to snuff? What would be your advice to those brothers and sisters?
My advice would be to first think about not what you want, you know. And what I mean by that is, when you think about what you want or what you think you want, the first thing that comes to mind is your lack. And because if you say, oh man, I wish I had, that means you're speaking out of what you don't have. You're speaking out of your lack. And what you want to do is say, let me begin to focus on what I do have and build from there. If I'm living in a shack and I know I need another screen door, I'm not asking for a house. I'm going to work on the screen door. See, you build where you are. So if you're not building where you are, it can cause a depression. It can make you feel like you're hopeless. It can make you feel like, you know, nothing is ever going right for you. So I would suggest build where you are. If you have 3 plates, wash your 3 plates. You know, if you have dirt, sweep the rocks off the dirt floor. You know, you have to build where you are. And if you don't build where you are, you begin to think about what you don't have. You begin to focus on what you don't have. It'll begin to cause you depression. Then with the depression will come anxiety. And then when you have anxiety, you don't want to do anything. Then you're not showing the love to your children and your spouse, or, you know, you're letting yourself go. So I would say build where you are. And that's the issue that we have when it comes to dealing with poverty. Because most people think dealing with poverty means money. Poverty is really your state of mind. Okay? So if you deal with that first, then you'll begin to see change, because you'll say, man, I got this new screen door. I had 3 plates, now I have 6. You have to build where you are. Build where you are. And don't focus on what society says is success. Don't focus on what society says is success.
Can people who live in poverty, can they really be happy? Like, is there happiness within poverty, doctor?
There is. You can be content because you're growing, and I think that's how things get better. But I think if you choose to give up and just stay there, again, it's your state of mind, then no, you can't be happy. If the only thing that you can think about is what you don't have, you will never be happy, because you will stop building where you are. Let me tell you something. Penny's not coming down from heaven. You know, $1 million is not going to be rained down. The billionaire is not coming through to swoop you up on your feet. Pretty woman is not happening. You know, it's not going to happen. You know, rich men ain't out here trying to marry prostitutes. That stuff is not going down like that. You know, everybody is not going to be, every man is not a Stedman. Okay? You know, that's going to get an Oprah. It doesn't work like that. But you have to build where you are. You have to build where you are. And if you don't, you're going to be miserable. You're going to be miserable in your poverty. But once you start building where you are, you're going to be content. Then you're going to start to be happy. Things are going to start to change, because you're actually doing something. You're actually doing something instead of saying, woe is me, I can't believe I'm so poor. Okay, you're poor on the outside, but do you have to be poor in spirit as well?
Wow. We got a couple more questions coming up the ticker. If a man is sexually frustrated because the woman is not doing what she initially did to get him, how should he proceed?
Wow, that's a very good question. Well, the first thing you don't want to do is say, you know, you're not doing what you were supposed to do. I mean, they know it. They know that they're not doing what they initially did. So you have to communicate. You have to say, is it something that I'm not doing? Is it something that you think we should be doing? This should be right here, calls for communication. Did she gain weight, and does she not feel sexually attractive anymore? I mean, it could be a lot of things. I mean, women, as they get older, their libidos go down as well. You know, so how you should proceed is by communicating. How you should proceed is by asking questions. Is it somebody else? I mean, get right down to the nitty gritty of what's going on. Am I no longer sexually attractive? Did I put on a beer gut, and is that messing you up? I mean, you know, you have to begin to ask those serious questions as to why things are not the way that they were.
One more. Dr. YaYa, do you think it's a healthy way to build a Black man's confidence in today's world, especially in the climate in which he faces when it comes to women and occupations?
The best way to do that is to just say it. You know, when you build someone's confidence, you just tell them what you want them to have. I say this all the time. You cannot pull out of people what they don't have in them. And if you want them to have something in them, you have to place it there. That's what the mind does. We do it all the time when we raise our children. When you're learning in school, people place in you what they want you to know. So it's the same thing. If I'm going to build his confidence, I'm going to tell him what I need him to know. I'm going to tell him how great he is. I'm going to tell him every day how wonderful he is. I'm going to, stress that he's appreciated, and that's what you do. I mean, because if people don't know, people won't know how you feel unless you tell them, right? So that's how you build it. You take those bricks, those phrases, which are bricks, and you begin to build from there. If he feels like he's not having a great day, you still tell him that, to be encouraged. You got this. You are productive today. That's how you do that. We do that with words and actions.
Should couples enter custody claims as soon as the children are born, or wait until things go sour?
Okay, that's a good question. If you're anticipating that things will go sour, obviously, no, because the only thing that affects is the child. You should not go into any type of custody claim. You want to build first. You don't want to think about it being torn down or destroyed first. You want to build first. So you want to go in thinking that everything is going to be well and we can co-parent and things are going to be just fine. That's how you want to do it. You want to start off with the positive. You don't want to go in saying, you know what, let's deal with this right now. The baby's 2 days old, because I know you're going to do something crazy and we're going to have to get to this place. That's not what you want to do. You don't want to go in bringing it down.
Someone else is asking, they're saying, wait, is the doctor advising sisters to date down? I guess they're referring to what your answer was to a prior question.
Oh, okay. I don't know what dating down means. I think that if you are in communication and you are in love with someone and you guys want to be together and you're dating, then you do that. That's what you do. I don't think any person should be judged based on some external things, because those things can change, right? Those things can change. So if you have good communication with the person that you want to build a relationship with, that's what you do. You go from there. You can't listen, to Auntie Mary in the back talking about, girl, you don't want to date him because he drive a Buick. You don't want to listen to that, because you guys can build together. That's not the issue. It's just making sure that your communication is what it should be. So I don't understand what date down is. I understand that if you have a connection with someone, I understand if you desire to build with that person, because that's what relationships do. They're called ships for a reason. They sail and you build.
One more. This is the last question I'm asking, because this guy done asked like the 8 questions already. I'm gonna ask her the last question you asked, brother, because we're coming down to the end of the show. So I'm gonna ask her this last question. He's asking, can blacks succeed without having a crutch like racism to use as a catalyst for progression?
Absolutely not.
I hope that answered it for you, brother.
Absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you why. You cannot legislate morality. So all these laws that we have in place to tell people to tolerate my color, to tolerate who I am, because I'm going to be here for a while, does not change the heart of someone who hates me. So I know that you hate me, and I know that you don't want any success for me. So if I have the opportunity to come in and be successful, and I see that you're blocking me, and I know why you're blocking me, because when racism is overt, and it's getting to the point that we absolutely know what it's subtle too. We know those little things, those micro aggressions that you give. Okay, so no, because you cannot change the heart of a person, and anytime you don't know my heart, I can manipulate you, I can block you, I can stop you. Based on the mere fact that I hate your skin tone. So in certain instances, I have to shore up and say, I know what this is. and I need you to move, I'm going to move it out my way. Point blank, period. Some people won't do right until you call them out. So in some cases, you're going to have to stand up and say, I know what this is, and I'm not going. I'm not going, period. Because I see it for what it is. Now, if there was no such thing as racism, of course, that'd be different. But since that is what the society has built up all around us, believe me, if I work for a company and I absolutely know that you hate me because of my skin color, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to call you out because you're blocking my success. You've already put some obstacles in my way. So I just can't sit back and say, well, that's just the way it is. My grandmama said every day is like this. No, I see you and I know why you're doing it. Because see, when you catch people and you call them out, they have a tendency to back up. They have a tendency to say, oh man, my car was pulled. I better, move back. I better digress. Right? And so racism is not a crutch. Racism is what it is. Period. That's not a crutch at all.
Well, we've talked about this stuff, the brothers, in the black male sector of YouTube. So let me ask you, doctor, what do you believe is the biggest problem facing black folks today? What's the biggest problem? What's problem number one?
Problem number one facing black folks today. The biggest problem. Wow. Their own problems or what's being put on them?
What would you say? What would you say is the I mean, we have a whole host of problems. I mean, we got a truckload of problems. But what would you say is the biggest problem? I mean, I've had brothers say all kinds of things, racism, relationships, economics, finances. I believe one of our biggest problems is education. That's my personal belief.
That's what I was going to say.
Education. So what do you believe is the number one problem that's facing black people?
I think it's absolutely, I think it's education. And I'm not talking about, watch this, I'm not talking about that you have to have higher education. I'm talking about you have to know your environment. You have to know what you're going into. You have to know how to deal with people. You have to educate yourself and how to deal with certain situations and certain things. And that's vitally important because a lot of times when you're not educated in that, it causes frustration. And I'm going to give you an example. If you're not educated on what the police can do and what they cannot do when they pull you over, when they pull you over and they start messing with your mind and speaking crazy to you, you'll lose your mind. Next thing you know, you're either dead or arrested, right? Because you have not educated yourself in how things are happening around you. And so education is not just this thing where I've got to go and sit down in some classes and stuff like that. It's just that I need to know this, and this. Because this may come around again. This may be something I have to deal with, And I think that's vitally important for anyone. I mean, we told our sons, you're an endangered species, right? So this is how we want you to focus on knowing this, and this when you leave the house. You have to be educated to be able to live in this world, And that doesn't necessarily involve degrees. That means that when I leave this house, I know that I'm not going to be respected. I know that everybody's not going to like me. So I have to know how to deal with that. I have to know how to deal with that. I have to know how to combat that. And that comes through the lessons I need to learn or to strategically move and do the things that I need to do.
Yeah, I agree totally. I always tell people that, you become educated, and I've told my sons and daughters this for years. You become educated when you go from unaware to aware of your own ignorance about people, places, things, life, and yourself.
Absolutely.
That's when you become educated. It has nothing to do with school. I mean, you can go to school and still be unaware of your own ignorance, I believe.
Exactly.
Well, I really, really appreciate you coming on tonight, Doctor. I do.
Thank you.
I really do. And I know you had told me that you could only be on for an hour, but
I told you, get me in trouble.
I have been able to keep you on for 2 hours, Doc.
And I'm going to be in trouble for that. So thank you, Brother X. We're going to fight it out.
Apologize to the assistant. Just blame it on me. Just be like, X, he wouldn't let me leave. He just kept asking me questions. Just blame it all on me.
I am.
They can email me and give me the business. I don't mind.
I know you heard my phone dinging, right?
Yeah, I'm used to getting hate mail in my email box, so they can just just give them. They can just pile theirs right on there with the rest of the hate mail.
Oh wow!
I appreciate you coming on tonight, Doc. I really do. I know you're busy. And I know I hounded you for a lot of days. I know I wore you down. So, I mean, I'm glad you came on. And full disclosure, y'all, last week when I was talking about, because I know my fans were like, oh, what was he talking about last week? Last week, I was actually trying to get the Doc to be one of my mystery unicorns, y'all. Wouldn't that had been nice, right? I know that would have been nice. I was working on it, but she was too busy. So, yeah, once again, thank you, Dr. YaYa. I've been a big fan of yours for a while. I'm glad you took the time. Like you said, I know your assistant is pissed off, and I appreciate you willing to go through that. To drop some jewels on the folks. I'm hoping that the people out there listening tonight learned something tonight. I hope you people opened your mind, because I believe opening your mind eventually will cause you to change your mind if your thinking is detrimental to how you live your life. So let the people know, how they can get in contact with you, and let us know what you got going on this year, Doc.
Wow, I certainly appreciate the invite. Much love to your chat and your subscribers and your supporters. I really appreciate it. I'm going to, this year, I'm doing my Healing the Community tour. And that's where I'm going to different cities. And, we're just going to discuss therapy and why it's a good idea to talk to someone. We're going to discuss abuse in the family, just all of these things, relationships. So that's what I have set for the year. If anyone wants to contact me, my website is YaYaPhD.com. You can go over there, check it out, send me a message, and I will certainly answer back. I'm excited about my people, what they're able to do, what they're capable of doing, and I'm more excited about how I can help them to do that. How I can help them to come out of certain situations that play over and over again in their mind. I was grateful to answer your questions, and like Brother X said, I hope you really got something from it and received something from it. And it was a pleasure to be here. And remember, you are loved, you are valued, and you are appreciated.
And before you go, Doc, I got to get a Prophet of Thought series, Open Your Mind, out of you before you go up off of here, Doctor.
Okay. Okay. What do I need to do? What you need me to do?
Just say the Prophet of Thought series, Open Your Mind.
The Prophet of Thought series, Open Your Mind.
Because I'm going to use this video clip in one of my promos. That's happening. And you're gonna show up at some point as one of my honorary unicorns at some point too, right?
That'd be nice. I like that. If my assistant has not, buried me, it'd be great.
Yeah, at some point, maybe in a few weeks, next month, when your schedule slows down, because we're in communication with each other. So, I'll see because I'm not telling y'all when it's gonna happen. It's just going to happen.
That's gonna happen.
You're gonna look up one day, and one of the honorary unicorns is going to be Dr. YaYa herself.
I'd be so honored.
So look for that down the road, folks. And once again, thank you, Doctor. I mean, I am very, very grateful for you showing up tonight, spending some time with us. And I learned a lot. I always learn a lot from you. I really I have a high respect for your perspective on things. And hopefully my audience got something from it tonight. And I'll be in contact with you. I will. I will. I'm gonna be bugging you, Doc.
I'm telling you.
I will be bugging you. You already know.
I enjoyed it, you guys. Thank you so much, Brother X.
All right, you know it. I'll talk to you, Doc, at some point in a few days. I'll hit you up in a few days, Doc.
Okay.
Peace.
Bye.
Yeah, well, we just got off the line with Dr. YaYa herself. Her and I have become quite friendly over the last few weeks. I mean, I've been hammering the doc. I've been on her like, come on, Doc, you got to come on my show. So, I finally was able to wear her down and get her to come on here tonight. I actually was going to have her on last week, y'all. If y'all remember, like I said a few minutes ago, she was actually going to be one of my honorary unicorns. I had a secret unicorn in the stash for y'all last week, but the doc got a lot of shit going on. She's a very busy lady, so she couldn't make it. But you just heard it tonight, what she said. One day the doc gonna pop up on a Unicorn 4 broadcast, and one of the unicorns gonna be Dr. YaYa herself. So keep your eyes open for that, folks. I hope y'all got something from tonight, man, because Dr. YaYa is a very, very, very wise woman. She says a lot of good things, and she's about Black folks, and she she spreads the word. And if you listen to some of the things that she say, man, you're guaranteed to get something from it. I want to thank y'all for showing up tonight. My mods, y'all did a good job tonight. As always, posting, if y'all could, please post the links in the chat just in case somebody's feeling generous at the end of the show while I do the final shout outs. Be sure to like, share, subscribe to this here channel, and make sure you stop by Prophet of Thought series at Facebook. That's Prophet of Thought series at Facebook. And be sure to stop by the T.P.O.T bandwagon page. There's always something on there worth seeing. And make sure you stop by the Prophet of Thought series fan group page. Request to be a member. Guess what, y'all? They finally approved my videos today. I told y'all that my damn videos have been held under review. I'm like, yo, I had to kind of get on them today because I was like, hey, wait a minute, man. Why y'all not letting my shit through? Like, what's good with that? They have my videos blocked, for Christ's sake. So y'all should be able to get through. I did talk with the admins today. I was like, yo, y'all got to start, checking the shit and accepting the members and letting X's video links get through if you don't mind. Also, make sure you stop by and check us out, Prophet of Thought at Instagram. That's Prophet of Thought on Instagram. You also can check us out on WhatsApp, and we got a Twitter, and y'all haven't been following me on it. And I told y'all that I'm going to haunt you in your sleep if you don't. So hit us up at Twitter at T.P.O.T Media on Twitter. That's at T.P.O.T Media on Twitter. Make sure you stop by. If you follow me, you guaranteed to get a follow back. Hit me up, write me a message. I will hit you back. I just want to say thank you for stopping by and listening and spending some time with us tonight. It's always appreciated. Those of you who donated tonight, Don't worry, I will be writing you a personal email. It probably won't be tonight, though. It'll probably be in the morning once I go through the donations. But, you know, X always hits you up with a little personal email and, you know, show his appreciation and talk shit to you at the same time. So, once again, thank you for stopping by the old T.P.O.T Media YouTube page, and make sure you have your behind here tomorrow, because tomorrow, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, you will be checking out the Unicorn 4 live and direct. TLOT, the Ladies of Thought, Lady Classic, Lady Ming, Lady Kendra, and Lady Cats. Tomorrow, we will be talking about what is the wall. So make sure you're here tomorrow to tune in for that. So, with that, I will leave you with 3 words. Like I always do, open your minds. And we out of here, y'all. Peace, folks.